Okay, we're officially being recorded. I'm going to start now, guys, so that we're not here for too long. My name's Alicia Jenko. I'm the manager, director of managers, manager of managers, whatever you want to call me. I think we're waiting on one more person. I am recording this, so like if there was a question asked and you want to, get the answer again, I'm going to send out the Zoom, the PDF, PowerPoint along with the video, the Zoom video, and then for the people who couldn't make it, that way they can review it if they want to. So this season we have 27 teams. Yeah, that's a lot. So I just kind of broke everything down into all the parts of being a manager. It looks overwhelming at first, especially if you're new, and I apologize if I'm repeating anything that some of you already know, but we have, I think, like half of our managers are new this year, so a lot of people that need to, learn the ropes. So just bear with me. So first one, manager role. So your main job is to be the liaison between the coach and the parents and your team and the Foxes. You will maintain a team binder and then basically help the coach with anything he asks you to do. And we'll go over like the individual responsibilities later. So it's a lot of administrative tasks like booking for tournaments, assigning parents to help with clock score sheet, managing the team fund, so if you heard it called the slush fund or petty cash, responsible for filling out the score sheet for home games and then putting those results into Sports Engine. That whole portion I'll go over later, a little more detail, but I'm thinking about doing like a separate little little meetings if anyone wants to go over it like together, because it can be daunting if you've never done it before, even though, well, once you get into the habit, it's like boom, 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 it's not bad. And then scheduling meetings, games, and any other team events you want to have, whether you do like, a holiday party or end of the year kind of thing. So the first thing, you guys should have already got emails from Carmen, the registrar, from Stat Zone. So that's how everyone uploads their clearances. Before, managers had to be in charge of that, so I'm really, really happy about this because that's one less thing off our plates. Everyone's responsible to do it themselves. So you guys, has anyone not gotten an email for a Stat Zone email from Carmen? Okay, good. So everyone gets their own link to upload their clearances. And so it's not like you can share the link, like, hey, upload here. It's for each individual person. And then if you have any parents on your team that want to volunteer to help, such as like for penalty box duty or just other things that would be like hands-on with the players, they are going to need all of their clearances submitted to Carmen. So if you know parents, or when you send out like a, beginning of the season, hey, practices are starting kind of email, and you want to say, we're always in need of help. If anyone, knows something in particular they'd like to help me do this season, or if you want a job, let me know, and then that way you can get that person's name to Carmen. Just email her with the name. Or names, hopefully names, more than one. Hi. Yeah. A mini manager? So this is the big one, the volunteer part, which also looks kind of overwhelming. I tried to break it down pretty easily. The things as far as managers need and any parent volunteers need, like I said, penalty box duty is the new one this year. Before we could just kind of pull any parent, and now they need to have clearances, like all the PA clearances. So they need to have everything listed. So they'll need USA hockey registration, the mid-am screening, which is through the NCSI, the Safe Sport module, and then the state of PA requirements, which are the child abuse, state criminal background check, and FBI fingerprinting and background check. So basically 6 things total that they'll need to do. And I put in there when everyone expires and how long they last. So when I send out this PDF to you guys, you can click each of those links in the PDF and it'll bring you right to that document or that website, so you don't have to go Googling to find all that info.
The PA 15, now you do those and then you upload them to the NCSI so that they do it for you, just so you know.
I don't remember because I did them like
Yeah.
a couple months ago, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so when you do the FBI ones, before registrars had to keep track, or managers that I was registrar, had to keep track of the Act 15. Now you upload those to the NCI screening, so if you don't have those saved to your desktop and ready, you can't do the mid-air NCSI screening. Does that
So the
make sense?
PA ones are first,
You
basically.
you have to be able to finish that one.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's helpful.
And so I'm assuming after 2 years, you can use those same.
Yeah, because they're good for
Right.
5. The
Right.
volunteer ones are good for 5. But then, yes, the NCI is every 2 years. And Safe Sport now is every year, but it's a refresher course.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's not too bad.
And it's free with your USA Hockey number, which is free for you.
Yes.
Actually, I have a question about that then, the
Yeah.
clearances. So, one of the clearances is, I think it's the state ones, not the fingerprints, but the criminal check maybe is for volunteer, and there's also one for like employers. Like I teach at a collegiate level, so I don't have the like the K to 12 education one, I have a different one. Is that acceptable, or do I need to do another one that's volunteer? Because they're so weird on like, oh no, we can only do this one, or we can only do that one.
You can upload it and see.
I did the FBI one too.
You could upload it and see, but if they reject it, then.
They're doing the same background check. I think that part is just for like their purposes to know if it's for work or if it's for volunteering. Because I also need them for work. I work with children, so and I've only done them like one time. I never redone them for volunteer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I had my copy that said you're good, and that's what gets submitted. Yeah. So you should be good then. It's like one less thing to do then. So this, I will email this to you guys as well. This has all the steps, so it kind of like breaks it down, makes it a little less overwhelming, and you kind of just, check off what you do. And like I said, give Carmen, upload everything, and then if you have volunteers, you have to give Carmen their email addresses, like their contact info basically, so she can get them the steps in email.
You can make them, like add them to your non-player roster in TeamSnap, like
Yes.
locker room monitor, penalty box first, like you can give them a title on your non-player and then she'll see that if she needs to.
Yes.
I just send her an email, like, I added 3 more locker room monitors.
Yeah, and that's.
So she goes there.
And then I know that they all have their clearance, like they automatically have them since you guys have added them.
Right.
So, all good. So coaches also need, this is just, FYI, coaching certification and then the age-specific module. So they have to be, take the module for the age that they are coaching or above. Or they could have all of them and do any level. And like I said, penalty box volunteers need all their clearances. That is new through Medium.
But not scorekeepers?
Well, scorekeepers aren't like with a child. It's because they're with a child. Well, they're separated by glass and a door. I don't know. I think it's all stupid, but literally everyone's watching you sitting with a child. The whole rink for like a minute and a half.
But you could be saying inappropriate. Yeah. Like grooming.
That's true. That's true. Yes, I didn't think about that either. Okay. Team fund, slush fund, or petty cash. This is optional. We say it's optional. However, if you don't do it, you're going to be asking families for money throughout the entire season. So it really makes it easier on the managers if you do a slush fund. So you need to talk with your head coach and determine the budget. So ask how many tournaments you think we're going to do. Do we want to do a holiday party? Do we want to, are we going to do gifts? That kind of thing. So you can kind of get a general budget in there. I kind of put in there some expenses. Playoffs are one of the expenses that you may accrue if you make them. You don't know if you'll make them. So that is something a lot of teams will ask for, like can each family give $20, to help pay for playoffs kind of thing. So you don't have to include that, but if you have extra, it's like one of those things, you can just take it from the slush because you already have it. So that's really up to you if you want to ask for extra, so to speak, because not everybody will make playoffs. So you have to keep the financial records. So basically where all the money's going in spreadsheet form, and then return the money, any leftover money at the end of the season. So if there's certain kiddos that aren't doing tournaments, those are also optional. But if there's some families, or they maybe just made one of 4 you were doing, they'll probably get back. You'll have to prorate how much money they get back versus like the kid who's gone to all the tournaments. because they shouldn't have to be putting in $100 towards a tournament if they're not going to be there. Now, if they play in a couple games for that tournament, that's still considering participating, so all their money for that, amount stays. So I just kind of estimate on my own $100 per player per tournament, because if you have a roster of 17, 18, that's typical cost for a tournament. General, I know it changes a little bit between, depending on what level you are, but, and then kind of adding in what else you want to do. Like I said, whether it be, even if it's like, we want to do, I don't know, bowling, for a team party, like a bonding kind of thing, or whatever you guys want to do. So you just kind of estimate. I always like to overestimate and give back money instead of under and then having to ask for more money. So, all right, move this back. Okay, TeamSnap. I'm assuming everyone is able to access TeamSnap. Anyone have any issues with that?
I
Okay.
have a question about it.
Yeah, sure.
So parents have asked me to add their email or text. And
They can add them to themselves.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I told them,
Yeah.
I showed them how to do it. But
Okay,
I couldn't
good.
figure out. It didn't look like I had the ability.
You
to
can.
do
Yeah,
that.
you can, especially if you go onto a computer, it's much easier to see that you can click on each individual profile, but I would just have them add the whole.
So you can,
But
you
they
can
won't.
go to their profile.
Well, and
They won't.
yeah,
They won't.
yeah.
They'll say my
Because
husband, my wife. They won't.
No,
Like,
yeah,
I usually just do it
that.
for them.
Occasionally you have some technological
Yeah, that I
challenges,
understand.
but
Figure it out.
Yeah, as a manager, you can add anything, but families, for each player, they can do their own, they can add and edit whatever they want. Like I've included, like my older son, like I've included his email and his phone number so that he gets all the emails too. Like my mom has been on the account because she likes going to the games, so she can access the schedule. So you can add other family members if you want, to make it easier, but they can do it themselves, yeah. Okay, so it is easier to go on the computer if you're trying to look at, the whole program, shall we say. The couple things that you can't do on the phone are uploading things like videos. Hey, videos and files you can only do on the website. So like I will upload videos for you guys, tutorials on how to do the clocks and a tutorial on how to do the score sheet. So I will do that soon. But I have to do it through the website. So if you want to upload anything like that, it has to be done through the website. The phone or the app, it has a little bit limited capabilities, but it can do most things. Like you can even track your payments, like for your slush fund if you want. There's a part called tracking, and you can track whatever. Like I've used it to track who I receive like their codes of conduct from, because you got people handing you papers, the parent one, the kid one, the coach one. So you can use that to help you keep things in order. So it can be helpful. All right, TeamSnap. Jack, question for Jack. Jack is the ice scheduler, and he schedules the ref and EMTs. When do schedules come out as far as like for each month? So like beforehand,
So
practice schedules. I should
August
say.
will be coming out within the next day and a half, hopefully.
So would you say like a couple weeks beforehand?
No, it usually should be like 3 weeks or a month before.
Okay.
But RMU has not even given us the ice for the season yet. I talked to
Yeah.
Dave the other day. So we
Yes.
don't even have September ice. So I haven't even looked at September ice. So if I would want to get that out by August 1st, it'd be possible, because I haven't even seen it yet. So I don't even know what it is yet.
Well,
I don't know
and part of the
anything
reason
about
there
it.
is their hands are tied because they don't know if RMU is going to be playing or not.
They don't know.
So
I
he doesn't
thought-
want to give us ice and then have to take it away again.
Yeah, we've experienced that a bit over the years.
Yeah.
He'll take ice anytime. It's called RMU Island Sports Center, not Arctic Fox's Island Sports Center. So I had a manager last year. Can he take that? He can do whatever they want with the ice. But he even said, I talked to Hanson the other day. He said that the D1 teams and then there's club teams that they might expand to. So he told
Just
me
be
he'd get it to me
patient.
soon.
He
But
gets it in as soon as he can.
the August should have been done like last week, but I was just, as soon as I open my laptop, I won't close it till March. So I was just like,
Do I want to make the
I don't wanna
jump, right?
start- Yeah.
Will there be practices August 14th, 15th, or
Yep.
just start?
Yes.
14th
Yes.
and 15th. Okay, well, they're doing mini camps starting the 14th. So it will be, That's also what I've been having trouble with in TeamSnap. TeamSnap, putting an Excel sheet to TeamSnap has to be perfect, or else you get errors like crazy. So even like Clearview to Colonial, like the change, I have to change that, or just crazy dumb things, like instead of B1, if it's BT1, it will recognize it. So I have to, change all that back. But they'll be doing camps. So every team will have practice on Sunday. Saturday, every team will have practice, but the U12s, the U18 will just be, I think, forwards. They're doing like forward specific camps and then the defense specific camps. So that will be in TeamSnap. And that will be something that the managers, there should be an email going out pretty soon. Chris should be sending an email out, or Craig Tamino. I might even send one out. So that it would just be like, if it says in the notes where it usually says, if some of you look up TeamSnap, it says split, half, full, whatever, skills, power skating, it will say forwards or defense. So only the forwards go that night. And then the next one, only the defense goes. And no goalies go to any of them except for there's one goalie session for all the goalies to go to on Saturday night, I think. So that will be in the goalie. The goalies have their own team, and that will be thrown out to them. So they don't want goalies there for every age group just being like giant shooter tutors and facing 1,000 pucks. They're going to really work on the offense and defense. But that will be part of the schedule. So yeah, to answer your question, mostly everybody will be on the ice Saturday and Sunday, except for the defensemen on Saturday, unless you're a squirt. You'll have ice Saturday.
What if there are players that play both?
Yeah, I was just saying, how are you gonna monitor if kids
Because they're both.
Well, they're both. It's just all offense. So like, it will be like the first session for forwards will be it will be 09, 10, PV1, PV2.
So everybody can go, you mean, it doesn't matter, or only the forwards from your team?
Only the forwards from those groups will go to that group.
So how do you know who's which?
What do you mean?
Like
Your kids, you don't even know which
Well,
one
there's
they try.
whatever kids just they go into a practice.
They can go to both.
So then they go both. So then if the next one is PV 2, 3, 4, and girls 12 major, then they can go to both. If they're on PV 2 and girls, they can go to both if they want to do 3 hours in a row.
Okay.
Or
So
if
they
it's
could do
skipping,
defense and
yeah, they
offense,
could do what
whatever.
defense, offense, yeah.
Okay.
It's just to spread it out,
Yeah.
so it's not, he's figuring 20% of kids won't come, so they don't want 60 kids on the ice, so they're just splitting them. And defense will be like I don't think they're splitting it because defense there's less than a team. So that will be something new. They do the camps because of attendance.
Yeah, that's
because
new,
people, years ago, we would have practices and coaches would be like, well, I have 6 kids on vacation, and you're like, why would we have practice with a goalie and 7 kids? So it's like a giant skills where the ice is used.
So essentially, we start the 14th, 15th, the times will be in the next couple days.
Yeah, they'll be
Okay.
next real close. And then 15th, the ice isn't normal for August, but there will be some splits. I think there's like 3 or 4 splits Monday. Well, Monday is still skills. Monday, minicamp. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there still is some minicamp, and there's a practice or 2 each night. Then Thursday will be back to normal. Then the following Saturday, I'm gonna probably send out an email with all the game slots, and you guys can just pick with your coaches, like, hey, we wanted this slot because we're gonna try to get a game. I don't want to get it out. I don't want to send all practices out for the weekends. Like I said that email, the last 2 weekends of August, we have more ice than we can do. Right? It's just crazy. So I'm gonna make it into game slots. So teams don't ask for games or they don't get used as we get close. Then I'll be forcing practices on teams or whatnot within the last 3 or 4 days before. But if the coach, I'll say in the email to you guys, if you guys want a slot, 4 slots on each of those weekends, there's plenty of ice. It's not going to be, and then you can use them just for a full ice 65-minute practice. If you're a midget team, you can use it for a full hour and a half practice. Bantam will go at least from 70, but 65 we'll see. But the key is to use the ice, and that's what we want to do. Is we want games too.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of August, early September.
Yes. Okay.
I have just a general question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just squirt new. Once like RMU is determined like what ice they're taking or not taking,
Mhm.
like moving forward, will the practices normally be like the same every week or do they change every week?
They change.
They change
They
every
change,
week.
and I know, I can tell you that too.
And
I told Alicia, I'm not gonna take over your meeting,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of information, but, so for sports and for really everybody. So RMU, he should have given, normally we get our ice for the year in July, and we sign the contract and we have it in July. He'll pick and take slots off of us, and he'll add slots, like these are, hey, this is free, do you want them, and whatnot. But to do the ice schedule, it changes every month, so say, normal months, September, October, and then you get into November, December with the holidays, but you can't just give out, like, your team's gonna practice every Tuesday, Thursday at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
or whatever, because the ice is different every month.
Yeah.
He'll take like 4 slots on a Wednesday in October that will be there in November or whatever. Also, we do skills and power skating, so that's not the same thing also because of the ice and because of the groupings. So you have, you can't do, practice the first weekend, or the first week you'll have Tuesday, Thursday, then the second weekend you would have Tuesday, then skills Wednesday, then the third, it would never be the same because it's always gonna move.
Yeah.
So most of our ice is on Monday night, well, most of it's on Tuesday and Thursday. We have some on Monday, when school hockey starts, they have their games here.
Yeah.
So we'll have like a couple slots before their
Yeah.
games. Wednesday night is a pretty good night for ice, and Friday is really not, like,
Yeah.
you get a couple slots here and there. The shame of it is, well, it's good because we get ramped up. He gives us so much ice, like right away, especially on the weekends. Like, we won't get this much ice for games when, it's just crazy. We'll have, I think, like I said, Sunday, we have every team could be on the ice, and I think 2 teams have to have full ice. So it's it's interesting, but that's why you can't practice the same every,
Well, since,
it's really hard to do.
well, it's hard because we don't own our,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean, we're buying ice
Right.
from the company,
Yeah.
so it's different than like in
I
Pittsburgh.
mean, I would
who-
love to copy
They
and
all-
paste from month to
Oh,
month,
yeah, no.
just be like, hey, your safe practice
Yeah.
schedule.
That'd make your job really easy.
You know,
My
really
son
easy.
plays on a sport team for a different
Yeah.
association, and he was like Monday, Thursday,
Yeah.
Saturday.
That would be
at the same
amazing,
time.
but-
Well, it's ice capacity.
Right.
So the Preds
Oh,
are,
yeah.
Yes,
Well, their
yes.
ice scheduler for the
Yeah.
Preds, he schedules the whole building.
Right.
And same with
Exactly.
Renegades, they schedule, the guy
Yeah.
schedules the whole
So
building.
that's the only reason why I asked.
Yeah,
yeah.
No,
I
it's
just
a good
wondered
question
how it
though.
would- Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you ever would look at a spreadsheet with ice for the whole
I
You don't-
do, I schedule for our
It's-
school team, it's
you-
insane,
Okay.
the one I get from Dave Hansen.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And
I get
we
it
have
all the time.
2017,
Yeah.
so imagine that, and it's so crazy, the butterfly effect, if you move, if like I'm like, 08, or PB1 has a skill, I accidentally gave him a skill on this night, and you move one
Yeah.
thing, you have to move like 20.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, so.
Yeah, I'm on that ice email, just because I scheduled for the school here, and I'm like, it's insane, I get it.
So, you can ask me tons of questions later, that's why
No,
I'm
no,
here.
you
Everybody
answered my
does.
question, that's all.
No, that's okay.
I'm fine.
Because other
That's all
people
I need to
have
know.
similar questions. So TeamSnap is really good for when you are at a tournament, like the instant message, the chat feature. That's a good one because people aren't really checking their emails. But it's like, hey, we're all gonna grab pizza at this place. Meet us here at this time. We want the team ready by this time. We're the black jersey. Whatever it is for.
Go to bed, you're noisy, the hotel's yelling at us.
Yes, that too. Yes. Get in your rooms. No. So it's good for that. Some coaches like to keep player stats on there, or might ask for a volunteer to do that. I don't know any that do that right now, but some do. So that's another option, is for keeping stats. And you can do all that through the app. I was just pulling it up. So there's the statistics one. There's tracking. Like I said, you can track for payments, or when people owe you paperwork or whatever. So if you haven't yet, go into your team and just kind of like play around and check around what you can do. All right. Okay, binder. Handy dandy binder. You don't necessarily need a binder, but you do need to have a few things on you. You need the current USA roster for your team. So the stamped approved roster, that comes from Carmen, the registrar. But she can't finalize that and get it approved until she has everybody's clearance info. So that includes managers, coaches, all that. So usually that comes out early September if everything is in order with the clearances and everything. You'll need to have a boatload of roster labels for the season. You'll need to make those. I'll go over that in a little bit. Blank score sheets. Scott just ordered those for me this morning. So I will have a bunch and divvy them out and probably leave them like in the Fox box for each of you, you know, with your team number on there just to grab so that you have them for the season. We need to have the signed coach, player, and parent codes of conduct. So we always had the player and parent. They added coach this year as well after some issues during games last year. So I will email those. I'll email you guys one email with all these pieces of info. So those 3 forms will be in there. Now you can have them sign it electronically. You can print them and give them to them. You can do it however you want. If you want help on how to do it electronically, let me know. If you have an iPhone, I know how to do it because that's what I have. But it's not too hard and I just love not having paperwork and just having, yes.
When you're saying we need to have this in our binder, if we have it
That's fine.
electronically, that's fine?
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Just to have it, to be able to pull it up exactly, accessible. Pull it up, you know, at any time. And then a stop patch. Now I know a lot of you are going to need those if you're a new manager. So the stop patch is supposed to be a reminder for the players not to hit from behind. So that's the whole point of that stop patch. So you need to have an extra one in your bag or in your binder because if one of your players forgets their jersey and they're going to borrow a jersey from somebody, it needs to have a stop patch on the back. That's PAHL rules. So I always keep the stop patch and a couple pins. Like if I don't have my bag, I throw it in my purse and just like keep one in there. So before we leave, I will get a count on who all needs that. The other thing is manager bags. Scott ordered those too. I think they're going to come in a couple weeks. So anyone who needs a manager bag, I'll get the count on that too before we leave here. Just a place to keep everything in and just like throw it in your car and then, you know, you can grab everything in one place. So there's that. And then I also keep in that binder, I'm super type A. So this is from last year, but all my old score sheets I just kept in here too, like in one of these little pocket kind of things. And then a pocket for all the roster and for the codes of conduct, and then a ton of roster labels. So you're never without. It's all in one place. All right, the roster. Like I said, you have to make sure. Now, like I said, managers don't have to worry about collecting and, you know, the clearances and everything, but it would be helpful probably to send out an email to your team saying, just a reminder, your stats zone, you know, if you got your stats zone email from Carmen, you need to get this stuff in ASAP so we can get our roster approved. Especially if your team is planning on doing an early tournament, you're gonna need that soon. Because, I mean, tournaments can start like 3rd week in September. So everyone will need their info in and approved before then. Now for tournament rosters can be different. So you can add people to your roster for a tournament that aren't normally on your regular season team. But Carmen has to do that as well. You have to contact her. She said, tell them at least 10 days. So I said, at least 10 days. And more if you can, to let her know ahead of time so she has time to get that all processed and get you that roster copy, because then you have to give that to the tournament company in order to be able to.
Hockey roster, but the PAHL roster is different, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is USA we're talking.
Right.
All right, roster labels. So this is all the info you need. Their first and last name, their player number, the coaches at the bottom, manager at the bottom with phone number. If you go on the Avery website right there, it'll give you the template, either one of these templates there. You can buy them. I know last year Robin bought them in bulk at Staples, and we kind of.
And I will be doing that again.
Okay. So she, bought like a ton of the
It was
labels.
like buy one, get one half off. I'm like, well, I don't need 2 things, but everybody else does.
Right. So it's cheaper for everybody. I feel like it's easiest to put them in number order, like of your team. You can do it however you want. Like you can do it by last name, but that's just what worked best for me, is just going in number order of the player's name or the player's numbers. So typically 4 per game because there's 4 copies on the score sheet. So there's 4, there's the top pink is home. Sorry, yellow. Pink is visiting. And then the last one, which you can hardly ever see, is for refs if they want it. I've never had them ask for it because typically nowadays what they'll do is take a picture and it's way easier to see. So usually I only put 3 labels on, but just if you have extra, you know, you end up throwing away that old
I
sheet.
have
Like,
3, but I hold on to a 4
Yes.
in case there's a lot of.
I'm like, that's a waste of labels.
Did you guys actually hand them out last year? Like all the extra sheets?
What do you mean?
Like did managers hand out? Because
What
Pill-
sheets?
That was PAHL didn't do it. They said don't hand them to anybody.
Yes,
And
we
they
give them out.
uploaded them. I wasn't sure. Well, it was the first year
What did
because
you
of
give it
COVID.
to
They didn't want
the-
anybody touching it. So they literally had you put the label only on the top one and then scan it in. They didn't give anybody anything.
we
I was just
We did the
wondering
same-
what
we-
with COVID
they didn't
and all
change
that.
anything for- yeah.
No touching or whatever.
All right, score clock. This is one of those areas that you're gonna want some parents to volunteer. It's not hard once you start doing it. It's really not. A good time to practice is during your child's practice. You know, parents are probably there somewhere in the building. You can mess around with the clock and they can play around with it without any worries, you know, get the feel of it. The clocks in Clearview and Olympic are a little bit different, but not so much that you couldn't figure it out. But I have 2 videos, one for each rink. One is a really great one that I found on YouTube, and the other one my husband made of Clearview. So you can just literally follow along. You know, it's not hard at all.
Is Clearview the black one now? The one that it was like new last year?
Yeah, it's that one.
That
So
one.
Yes, the colored
today,
one.
both are in there, the old and the new one.
Oh, okay.
We played around. You
In
can
here,
take the cord
did they
out of
put
one and
they
put
put
it
an
in-
old one or
Yeah,
the
I
black
think they
and
were
white?
using it for the 3-on-3 games. for
Okay,
some
because
reason.
typically it's the new colored, the new improved, and then the older one here. And then if you're out in,
The old Clearview one got put out there, I think.
Yeah, it might have because
Uh-huh,
that
it
one
did.
broke.
well,
It did, yeah, because I remember
Usually
using
you grab
it.
But
it
you
from
still
the
have to
front
go
desk.
get it from the front.
Yes,
desk.
these
If
two-
it's the first bit.
there's usually one in here, but out on the stadium rink, you have to get one from the front desk.
Yeah.
So if you go out there, if you're game, you know, usually there aren't games out there, but if they are, and you're like, where's the clock? You have to get one from the front desk for out
And
there
if you're the last game, you should take it back. The last game
of the
I don't know
day,
how
yeah.
you're supposed to know that.
So those videos are very helpful, and do not be afraid to ask parents for help. All right, here's the PAHL calendar. Placement games. First weekend in September they start. Let's see, anything you want to add in here, Jack, as far as that all goes, because you deal with that too. Girls scheduling, September 18th. All scheduling is going to be done in person this year. Last year we did it via email and it was a nightmare. So that is good. It's kind of like you give it an hour or 2 of your time and then boom, you have your schedule for the season. Instead of waiting for people to get back to you for like 3 days straight.
Did you send us this?
I don't think, I can send it to you.
website.
It's on the website, yeah. But I can send it in that.
What is scheduling like?
Zoom.
Right, I mean.
It is, and it depends on what grouping you're
And
doing.
it depends on your personality.
I think
It's super fun.
I can talk about scheduling because I'll be there with you guys. Because
So you
I have
go
all
and
the
you
ice.
give your ice lots and then you go and just try to fill it.
yeah,
So what is your suggestion that we should have prepared when we arrive?
Be a servant.
Like, should I bring her my
Yes.
pizza?
I was
Be a jerk.
Like, I
Like,
was,
we
yeah,
have to be
black
tough.
out
If people
days.
say I need
Or
to
days.
be
I
bad.
have a
Yeah,
calendar.
I will address. Don't worry, I'm going to address.
Let me know when, because I'd like to talk about scheduling. I have a few things to say.
Okay.
I'll even go with you.
I have a few things to say about scheduling.
Okay, I will talk about scheduling, do not worry. And some tips, like on what, yeah. How,
It's like a logic game. Like, well, that's not gonna work. Let's go talk to this person and create something. It's kind of fun. It's stupidly fun.
all right, scrimmages. A lot of times at the beginning of the season, you may want to do scrimmages, you know, before actual games start, because kids have been practicing for a while. They're like, we want to get out there, you know. So you might have managers from other teams in the area reach out to you, or you can reach out to them. If your scrimmage is going to be held here, you need to talk to this man to get ice times available to you and the ref and EMT costs, depending on what level your kid plays at. I put on here teams typically split the cost. Now, what I mean by that is like we buy ice from RMU, so the Foxes have already covered the ice, so you're good. So typically the away team that's coming here is the one that will pay the ref and EMT fees. And the same would go if you go to another rink. So you don't have to take any money out of slush or anything to do that if you're playing here, if that makes sense. If you're playing away, you would have to take it out of slush to play in away. Some people do a swap. You know, we play one game here, one game away.
And you
So-
would pay the ref and EMT cash directly?
Not here.
You
Sometimes.
write a check out
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. To the Arctic Foxes Hockey Association for those fees, put it in the Fox box the day of the game. So the other manager can pay you in cash or however you want. They can do it however. They can pay you the check, but you're gonna put that in your slush and then you pay it out of your slush.
I've
He
had other
wants-
teams try to pay them, like pay the refs and EMT,
No,
because then you gotta deal with the back
He
end.
wants to, write on the check to, you know,
Yes.
ET1
Thank you.
and then the date of the game, so he can match up the check with the
Yes, I should've-
invoice he gets from the.
I should have put that in there. That's
Yeah.
smart to add. Because that, I mean, if he's getting, you know,
And that is another thing.
20 checks in a weekend, it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, was it last year, we had 20-something games, scrimmage games scheduled, it was crazy. The one thing, there'll be a chart that will say EMTs, ref fees. It's great that you guys will have it, but you won't know if there's a game before or after. So it's different, it's like $5, $7 different. So
I
it's
know,
not
because
that-
every time you give me, it's
I
like
know.
this cost. I'm like, why is it different than the last
Yeah.
time? It's
So
for the
you
same
won't know,
thing.
only I will know
Yeah.
if there's a game before. You can ballpark it, like if Wildcats are coming here and you're a sport team, you can look at the chart and say it's 45 and just, you know, up it, and hey, it's 50 per ref and 50 MT, it's 150. It might really only be like 139 because it's a
Yeah.
game after it, but it's.
So you
I mean,
just
you
say,
can email me and
"Hey,
I'll email
Jack.
back. Yeah, I
Hey,
mean.
Jack.
So I have a question. Is the managers, like the PAHL manager site, a good resource to set up scrimmages, or how do you get a hold of other managers?
So if you go on the PAL website, there will be a list of
Okay.
all the organizations with their contact info. So
Okay.
coaches and
Not there,
managers,
just
so you could go
Not
to,
there yet.
yeah, it's not on there yet. Yeah,
Okay.
I just
I've
looked
been,
last
I've
night
been
and it's not on
scrolling,
there yet.
She's been sending me links. and
Yes,
I just didn't see it. So, okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
name and your phone number and your email will be
And just
There.
try the
Your
best you
team, your
can
coach.
match up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If you know your,
And then whoever wants to respond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not
just know if your Fox is PB4 and that's our lowest, don't play, you know,
North
Predators
Pittsburgh.
PB2 or something. You know?
Right, yeah, you
Like,
wanna
try to
kinda
match
make
up,
it
you know,
so
get
it's, yeah.
close.
And there will be a list of divisions soon,
Okay.
too, or
Yes.
guesses.
That will be, we meet, I'm on the placement committee with PAHL too. We meet, the 10th and we're gonna get the U12 to U18 divisions like set up. So that will be coming out probably within a week or so after that. August 10th, we're meeting and she said we're getting it all done in one night. So we'll see.
Evening with Dusty.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, scheduling games. So number one thing is knowing what your scheduling conflicts would be before you go. So if you're playing tournaments, have your tournament dates down so that you don't go book a game in State College, you know, that same day. The other thing is too, you will want to talk to your goalies to make sure that at least one of them is available. You might only have one, depending on your team, because you will need, obviously they need to be there. So you're gonna wanna know your goalie's availability, or if they have any blackouts, so to speak. If there's like, oh, we're away this day, you know, this week, then, you know, you can't, you know, schedule some, you know, tournament or whatever that time. So teams in your division are gonna be identified. That's what happens when, on the 10th. So when you go, you're going to want to identify the teams that are the furthest from you and assign the best game times first. So we were talking about this last night. Don't schedule North Pittsburgh to play at 12 p.m. at RMU.
North Pittsburgh never plays at afternoon here. They
Right,
always
it's
play
a
morning.
very
Unless
early
you're a
or
BAM
later.
Unless you're a BAM team and it's like 11 o'clock slot, but yeah.
So, like I said, State College, that's one. They have to travel. So, do the 12 o'clock slot for them. Just in your head, you'll know ahead of time what your groupings are. Say, okay, if State College is one that you guys play, I'm going to go to the State College manager first so that we can get our time set up because I want to use my, prime 12 o'clock slot for them. So you're going to want to schedule those ones first, the farthest away first, if that makes sense. You get the scheduling sheet when you get there. And you basically go from each, a lot of times it's manager and coach, you go from each one and do a little powwow. Hey, what do you have? Hey, what do I have? You schedule your home and your ways with them. Sometimes you have to go back to them and say, hey, I forgot. Forgot this. That won't work, So it's a little bit of,
So can I talk about scheduling?
you can talk about scheduling. Go ahead, Jack. It's
I'll
killing
be,
you,
I'll be
isn't
there
it?
for 9 to 10 hours each day. So.
Yeah.
How many people have done scheduling over here? So there's a few newbies here. So it is really chaotic. It's really crazy. The way I want to do, so this is I've coached for 12 years, so I've been scheduling before I was the scheduler, so I've been on both sides. What we'll do is they'll have a schedule list when your team's gonna go, the time and everything. So a week or so before scheduling for your team, I'll send an email and say, I want your blackouts. Because I'll have the master game slots for every single slot we have for the year. So then you give me your blackout. So the blackout, again, is gonna be the head coach's blackout, that he can't come. It's gonna be your goalie, if there's one goalie on your team, that's a blackout. If you're doing a tournament that weekend, most PAHL games won't be on weekends. There are PAHL, you can play on tournament weekends, but sometimes there's nobody else to play because everybody else is in tournaments. That's blackout. Like your personal, like your son, daughters, dogs, like soccer game is not a blackout. Like I'll get everybody's blackout. So I'll know who's like trying to get, oh, my daughter has a game this, and my son, and then my uncle, and my, this, like those aren't blackouts. The ice is really tight. Like you said, it'd be 27 teams. It is, if this was last year with COVID, that would be almost impossible. But so what I'm gonna do is I'll see your blackouts. I'll then assign the first like 3 or 4 teams of the day. I will email those slots to you. You'll get, say the average team, besides some girls teams, you'll play 10 home games. I'll give you 14 or 15 slots, and those are yours. Like there's no others. So those are like, when she was saying be aggressive, like those are it. I've seen managers have Altoona come here at 7 in the morning. Like that is it. There's no real wiggle room. If there's some extreme cases where you couldn't get to Altoona and they're like, well, Altoona, they really don't come at 7 a.m. That's why I won't give everybody that day, because I'll pull somebody else's slot. I've learned from doing this for 4 or 5 years on the ice scheduling side. One year I was like, hey, here's your 10 slots and here's 50 extra. If you need them, take them. And someone come back, I didn't use my 10, I used like noon. They took every noon slot at the extras. So I'm like, then I'm emailing everybody, well, now every team has to take more 7 a.m.s because 2 teams didn't take any 7 a.m.s.
Yeah, you gotta keep it fair for all the teams.
You have to keep it like,
yeah.
And sorry about squirts, but the squirts and PBs are gonna play a lot of their games at 7 and 8:15. Like they're just gonna. Now, we'll try to only get them each maybe 3 or maybe 4 and try to get, because there are the Altoona games, so we'll try to get, each of those PB teams, especially early, 4 or 5 really good slots, like where they're 11, 12, 1, 2, so then it's easier to schedule those other games. But as it goes, even Bantam, they're gonna have to do a couple early slots, like 1 or 2 before 9 a.m. maybe. Midgets are crazy. They will play at 9 p.m., 2 or 3 games at 9 p.m., and also probably have to play 1 or 2 at 7:30 a.m. It's just the way RMU gives us our ice. We get Olympic, I think Sunday 7:30 till 9. So I can't put 2 sport games there. It has to be a midget game. So you'll go into the war room and you have to be really, really aggressive. You have to be really tough, and you have to.
That's like you said. So Altoona, that's the one you're going to go for that, really those prime slots, because if they're traveling that morning, now obviously they could come. We've had teams where they'll like stay the night beforehand, and then if you can avoid that,
And work out your
avoid it,
schedule.
you know?
Double header, well,
You
they'll
can
play
do that.
Pittsburgh the night before, stay
Yeah.
overnight,
Well,
and then play the Boston at 7
Some of you guys will have a Johnstown and an Altoona in your division, or a Johnstown and State College. So make it a tournament weekend. Like schedule like Saturday at 4 at State College, so you can drive out there, and then do Sunday at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. at Altoona on the way
Right.
back or something. Like you can make it a fun weekend.
I think we did them in the same day last year.
You can play PAHL games.
Or you can
too.
do that.
You can play PAHL games as long as they're 4 or 5 hours apart. You know, you can play.
Yes,
games in a
that
day.
is the one thing. I
That's the day
don't-
my daughter got sick.
was wondering how many hours. I can't remember how many hours Darcy said they
But
have.
so
I
that's
think
like-
it might minimum's 3 hours
The
apart.
goal for scheduling is the 15 slots I give you, you're not gonna get them and go, well, we're at tournament this weekend, we have no goalie this week. No, I want that before, so I'm not wasting giving you slots that you can't use. We want you guys to be able to use the slots, and then square peg, round hole, those slots, where you're not coming back. If I give you 14 or 15, you're not coming back. They're like, these 6 didn't work. Like, no, they do. Like,
They
to work.
have to work. You
Like,
don't
it's just-
have an option.
It's just so tough, and you have to take the early ones. Like some of the early teams going, I'll probably give you, of your 14 slots, 7 of them will be 7 a.m. or 8:15, so you have to use them. It just makes it better on when we get to the squirt teams. Like you say, you're a new squirt manager. We had it one year where I was like, it was the last squirt manager to go. It might have been you or something. Where it was like, it was Carmen, I think, the one time. I was like, okay, I have great news. I have 25 slots left, but like 20 of them are at 7 a.m. because nobody took them. So, you know, her schedule for home games, they were all 7 a.m., 8:15. But, you know, everybody has to share the pain. And, you know, so we all,
The fun. You
the
mean.
fun,
Yeah.
right? So I'll be there at scheduling. If you have questions, you can run over. You'll,
In other, like I said, usually coach, manager will go together, so you can kind of powwow beforehand and get a game plan together.
but that's where the hidden blackouts aren't gonna affect your schedule. Because you're gonna give me a list, and if I see like a crazy blackout, if I see that you have, there's what, to say there's 20 weekends you could play PAL games, if all of a sudden all your blackouts are like, well, you can only play on these 8 weekends, well, that's too many blackouts. PAL will say, you have to play PAL first.
Yes. Tournaments are secondary.
Scrimmages versus a team from Ohio is secondary. You have to play your PAL games first. They're very nasty when it comes to getting those games in and finding organizations.
Yes,
And
strict about it, yeah.
they're really strict. So if
Any-
you ever had any scheduling questions, you can ask me. I've been there
I was just gonna say, any questions on?
for years.
It's one of those things, once you go,
Robin's
you
right
just
though.
gotta go
Good
through
point.
it,
If
so.
you get in the groove, I've seen managers go in there, experienced manager, you know, Alicia, Rob, Carmen, even Michelle, they'll go in there and they're done in 45 minutes.
Just don't cry, it'll be okay.
I've seen managers
not worth
I've seen managers in there for 2 hours, you know, and they're trying to put this big puzzle together. That's why
Yeah.
I don't want to be sound like a jerk, but it really is going to be like, this is it. Like, if you come to me, I need to know why. If you're like, it could be Alicia's great example, Altoona. Altoona just sits back with like, they're just, oh, everybody come to us. Like, so you might not get there. You might get there 5th, and now you don't have an afternoon, or they can't come. Then you come to me like, you know, I need something for Altoona better than 7 a.m. And I'll look, and you know, we'll work it out. Because usually you help them out, they help you out. So
Girls' scheduling is not as bad. It's a little smaller, so that's kind of nice.
so Squirt's a little smaller, yeah.
Yeah, sport's a little smaller too. Not quite as crazy, but any scheduling questions?
I recommend wearing a Fox something bag or whatever so they know who you are.
Yes,
But
that's.
said people that don't wear it, that's Altoona. You go straight to the group.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? What are you? You know what I mean?
Where does this take place?
At
Ice Castle.
And then you will get a time when you're to be there. And I just ask, I'll send out an email again. It's usually an Ice Castle. I will be, when you come in the concession stand, you would go to the far right, and I will be there with all the other ice schedulers of the big organizations. And I'll have a printer there and my laptop. And then the scheduling will be in the party room to the left as you come in, and you'll schedule there. It's organized chaos. I would just say, like, be there half hour before, because I'll tell you if there's an adjustment or anything, you know, this spot's not yours anymore, or this is this, or whatnot.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
you good? Did you get it off your chest?
No, there's one.
There's always more. All right. Tournaments. Tournaments are optional, like I said. This was a question because we have a few teams that have paid coaches. Whether or not it's the team's responsibility to pay for their hotel, their travel expenses, that kind of thing. So I added it in here. Contracted coaches are paid for their time during practices and PAHL games only. So they can't demand that the team pays for their, non-PAHL sanctioned events, whether it be mid-ams, nationals, tournaments. But we kind of talked as a board and said, if the team wants to put together like a coach's fund, like, you know what, he does so much for us, like we really appreciate it. Like people can contribute to that, and then you can offer that as compensation for the travel, because they are paid for their time during PAHL related events. Does that make sense?
What do you recommend?
As far as how much, or?
I don't know, anything. I mean, you can tell me later. I've never dealt with volunteer coaching or state or whatever.
So I have on here contracted coaches, but also uncontracted
There's only
coaches.
3 contracted, right? 3 or 4 contracted coaches.
3, I believe. But we have a few uncontracted, so that means they are helping on a team or assistant coaching on a team, but they don't have a child on that team, but they volunteered to do that. So they're basically not paid. Yeah, they're not paid. They're doing it because they want to.
Just give an extra nice gift at Christmas? Like, I don't know.
You don't have to do anything.
I mean,
You don't
no,
have
you
to.
could.
What's customary, recommended?
This is kind of a new topic that's come up just over like the past year. And really we didn't have to deal with it a whole lot last year, being that it was COVID and kids, we weren't really doing a ton of tournaments.
Like, I know we're not paying for the mileage, and maybe not, but like,
I mean,
There's some-
if you want to do something like you guys go out to dinner, you buy the coach's dinner, you know what I mean? You can kind of do that. I mean,
There's some tournaments or hotels that are, you have enough people staying, they give you a room
Right.
free.
yes.
They give you 2 usually. So you
Depends
give
on
you
how
like,
many rooms your team has booked. So
you can always ask when you book your hotel. You can always ask.
yes, if they don't let you know, that you can definitely ask about
And they
that.
probably won't, because they don't want to give free ones away. But
Right.
yeah, there's been cases where the manager.
So say you
and head
book
coach-
20 rooms, like as a team, say we'll book you more than that, say 30 or 40 rooms, because if it's 2 nights at a hotel and you have, 15 players, there's already 30 nights rooms booked. So, say you book 30 or more, you get 1 night free. So you could offer that to the coach. The coach can get that for free.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's
an individual.
I just didn't know.
Yeah, it gets that. I mean, if you say give 2. Okay.
And I know they're volunteers and they're happy to be there.
Right.
But
But it's nice to let them know that you appreciate them. But we can't make it mandatory that people give to that. And even people, if they want to do it, like you can mention, say, we have this, coaches fund. If you want to contribute, you can. If you don't, like they can give it to you, on the side kind of thing.
Well, we played a game. So we played it's kind of like gambling. Like we had each kid's name on a little chip, and then you bought the chip, say for $2 or $3, and then at the end of the year we use that money like to buy gifts and pay for coaches stuff. So we played a game every game. So like say if we were in a tournament, maybe we made $500 on that game or whatever, and then we paid for the
just
two.
within your team, though.
Yeah,
So it's
just-
not
yeah.
like a licensing issue. It's
So wait,
a
what did you do?
fundraising thing that they
It's
do
like a
not-
goal camp kind of thing. Or
Yeah, goals. Who got the first goal? Who got the first penalty? Who had a playmaker? So we used chips and we put their numbers on there, and then you bought a chip if you wanted to. It was volunteer, So then we used that money, kept that money kind of separate, and used that for pizza or if we had a team dinner. Of course, then the coaches got paid or got their dinner. So we use that. So you could do something like that.
Yeah,
If your coach is a contracted coach, has that been communicated to the team already? I know it's primarily birth years, so ages that are paid. Like Phantom 1 is not paid coach. Is that disclosed? Like how to
Are you asking if they know about this already? If the coaches know,
the
or
teams, like the parents?
no? That's
Okay.
That'll be something for you to communicate to your, it might not apply to you, but if it does apply to you, I mean, we can even talk about like how an email that we could write up in such a way that, you know, it's like a touchy subject, you know what I mean? You don't wanna.
A paid coach.
What's that?
How do you know if you have a paid coach?
They don't have a child on the team, most likely.
But there's a couple that are
Volunteer.
volunteers.
Well, paid or not, but.
Yeah.
The manager would have been notified though, right? Or no?
Not really.
No, okay.
Maybe not.
Like Steve
Don't you know
You
when
should
you
know.
try out? if
You
it's
should know, if
paid
you have a
coach?
paid coach, you know, there's only 3 of them,
Yeah.
and there's
Well, I
like,
know mine's
there's 2
not.
volunteer coaches, I think, is there?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, Steve
Who?
is Joe, if you have a paid coach. Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
Jeff
add it.
McConnell, is
So
he
you'll know.
18?
I don't know.
I know.
Jeff, I think there's only 2 volunteer coaches, and I think there's 3
And
paid.
Robin has them both.
Who do you have?
Joe and Steve.
Yeah, so Joe's a volunteer, and Steve is,
But it-
Helps out Joe.
he helps out, well, he's an assistant,
Oh,
or is
yeah.
he's a head coach also at one team,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for another team.
but he's assistant.
But he
helps
has a
Joe.
child, he has a child on that team, correct? The
He
one that
might,
he's
yeah,
a
Steve
head.
has
On the
Joe.
other, yeah.
Yeah.
girls.
So he's just helping out with
Yeah.
girls, because he did last year for practices and
That's
things.
embarrassing, that's Steve.
Like,
It's just Steve.
I mean, and he will insist on paying for everything anyway, but I just,
Yeah.
thank you for touching on that.
Yes, but we can, yeah, if for I can contact the managers of the teams that do have paid coaches, and we can kind of talk about if you want to do like an email about how to discuss that.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, sure.
While, tournaments, so room blocks, some tournaments, a lot of them require you to
Most of them, yes.
play.
Minimum number, yeah.
Is there a minimum number?
It
Is there-
depends.
is there-
Usually 10 per night.
Yeah, it depends on the,
Okay.
depends on the hotel, like if it's Marriott, if it's, you know what I mean?
So we already have 2 booked, we have this many players, that's how many are reserved.
I mean, typically you don't run into, we can't fill our block because the block is pretty low compared to what you need. It's at least 2 nights, and
But
it
it
seems
says
gonna be
right in your
15.
rules. It says right in your rules.
It's easy to, because if you, what you'll have is, you're going to Cleveland. So you'll have, 17 kids in your team, you'll get at least a couple, like, oh, we have relatives, we're gonna stay at a friend's house. As long as you have a minimum of 10 or whatever, the 10 or 12 rooms per night, you're fine. And with 17, 15 kids, you'll hit that number easy.
Yeah.
But you could have another
Never had
assistant
an
coach,
issue.
somebody like, oh, I have a camp up there, I'm gonna just stay at my camp, You can't say, no, you have to stay. As long as you know you already have the minimum, it doesn't matter if they really stay or not.
Now, if you had half the team doing that, then you
Then
would
you're
have
in
an
trouble.
issue, but I've never had an issue, like I've never,
There's always those 1 or
Or
2
issue.
offs that like have a relative or
everywhere they go.
I'm coming up late or yeah, or something,
Yeah, yeah.
Sending their kid with another family. I've done that. Just take my kid.
I don't
Just
want
take
him.
my kid.
Take my kid. All right, some rule changes this year.
How officially adopt these yet though?
Glenn's putting them in the newsletter, so
Where they adopt, so it's official
I'm
now?
pretty sure. Okay, this is a big one that you'll need to know, especially if you do the clock and score sheet. Penalty times are being adjusted depending on the length of the period. So these are the time, first, second, third period. It's either 15-minute periods or 12-minute periods, depending on your child's level of play. So games that are 12-minute periods, penalties are now this is minor penalties, are now 1 minute. And 15-minute periods are 1:30. So it's a lot less time in the box.
You know how that affects fair play points?
It has to be adjusted. They haven't announced yet, but it will have to be adjusted,
But
obviously.
major penalty, like, if someone
Right.
makes a 10-minute, you're like immediately.
No, it will be 7 minutes now.
So the major.
It'll be, I think a major is 3 and this one is 10, or no, it's 7, I mean. I think it's like 3, so it's all adjusted. So it will go, you used to be able to take 8 minor penalties, then your ninth
Yep.
hit the threshold, they're gonna do the same thing. Now it'll be
Yes.
like, so it'll be like, yeah, it'll be like 9 minutes, you lose your fair play point if you're a 12-minute game or so, something like that.
Immediate offsides for all levels, so no more touch-up offsides or delayed offsides. And, right, cannot ice the puck while shorthanded, which is another, I'm like, wait a minute, that's how you eat up your,
question, are these just PAHL changes?
No,
or
USA
USA
Hockey.
Hockey?
Yes.
Mid-am voted them, so Hal's gonna follow them.
Yeah, and there were more, I just kind of did a brief, now Glenn is finishing up the newsletter and he's gonna kind of go over them in a little more detail. But these were like the main ones that I felt affected us as far as managers goes. Okay, so now a player receives a game misconduct if they have 4 penalties in the same game, so 4 minor penalties in the same game. So how will that look? If your son or daughter gets their 3rd penalty of the game, most likely the coach is going to sit them the rest of the game because they don't want to see them being pulled for the next game. So you might see that happen. And then the coach receives a game suspension when a team has 12 penalty minutes or more during the same game. And I think that used to be like 15.
15, 12 penalties, not even minutes.
12 penalties, sorry, yes. But it was 15, was it 15
It
penalties?
used to be 5 and 15, now it's 4 and 12.
Okay. All right.
4 penalties are very easy to get.
Right.
A Hulk, a trip, and a 2 and 10, boom, you're suspended. It's like, they really don't want any more bad hitting at all.
As a frequent scorekeeper, I appreciate this. Because when you're scorekeeping for 16 and 18U teams and you're filling up those, you can't keep up. It's like sweating bullets. I also included on here that you can click on, it's the PAHL rule book that's been updated for the season, and then just the gameplay section of the rule book. So when I send you the PDF here, you can just click that and access those. All right, game responsibilities. So game day, you will need to provide the score sheets for home games only. So if you're at an away game, all you need to do is bring your roster labels with crossed out whoever cannot be there. I wait to cross them out until that day, like that morning, checking TeamSnap or if you know, waiting because things can change overnight. So you don't want to kind of do that part early. So all you need to do is find the manager of the other team and give them, for away game, give them your labels, or for home game, find them and get their labels and make sure they have their scratches marked. The manager needs to assign the score sheet and the scoreboard. You can do this ahead of time if you get your schedule and you want to kind of fill it in so that people know ahead of time who's going to do what. That's really nice than the day before scrambling to find someone. And like I said before, the penalty box needs to be covered. Now, if you have several assistant coaches who are, I don't want to say extra, but if you have more than one assistant coach, you could ask one of them or have the coach bring them over to run your penalty box, or you need a volunteer who has all their clearances. So that may end up being you if you have someone covering the clock and score sheet.
What if you had like a older player who was under 18, like a 16 or 17-year-old volunteer?
They've never allowed under 18.
They don't in the penalty box? Okay.
Now, I'm not saying the ref's gonna question it, but they're technically not allowed.
That's interesting, because I've seen it lots of times.
Well, this
Don't
is
forget, the
a new
ref
rule
would have to
too.
know the rule and would have to.
And I did a penalty box for other.
Well, and this is new, so
Right,
like
yeah.
it's,
No, but that's not new, the 18.
Okay.
I
think that penalty box thing is gonna be difficult.
yes. I was not happy to hear about that. It's hard enough to get
Hopefully you have more than that.
help
You
as
can
it is,
sign to
so.
rotate one box, but-
We don't know what we do.
By now, they're all being clearances now, so you can't just rotate them.
right.
I have stuff to say.
All right. What I do ahead of time on the score sheet is I try to fill out all the stuff I know ahead of time. Who you're playing, the date, the game number, all the stuff you can that's like, stay the same. You can put in your head coach's, your own, and if you know the other, just so that it's kind of ready to go and have those ready. It's just way easier than that day trying to find out, what was that game number again? You have to go back to your scheduling sheet and find out the game number and that. So it's less crazy if you can fill out the knowns on those score sheets ahead of time.
So I add the game number to my TeamSnap event, like game number 4561.
I do that as well. Yes.
So at least it's there.
Yes. And it's more just for us.
Yes.
But
Nobody
yeah,
else is gonna care.
when I uploaded the TeamSnap schedule, I did the same thing. That is one thing too. Once you get your schedule, once you do scheduling, it's your job to upload that into your TeamSnap. So I double, triple check before I hit send or like notify teams, because they're going to be getting ba-boom, 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 a game's been added, a game's been added. Check all those details. You have the right location, the right time, the right day, the right
And you'll have that under
opponent.
scheduling. You'll get that chart. If you haven't seen, you'll get a chart with your home
Yeah.
road. So you can just go and put that in. The one thing I do ask, put it under new game, because my TeamSnap, I have like my TeamSnap for Saturdays, everybody's games. So one of the things for, as the season goes, I'll send an email every Monday or Tuesday and then Thursday saying, here's the games I have for this weekend. If your game's not on there, or there's something that you have that I don't have or something, because I'll usually go, I'll check the PAHL website, I'll check TeamSnap, I'll check my master schedule, and if it all adds up, then I send that email. But you guys could have something different, like there could be a scrimmage game I missed that you had a home scrimmage game that I happened to send out. One thing also that was a huge panic a couple years ago that I found out is add your games as games, not as events.
Well, you can do add game or add events.
Add it as a game, because I'll see it then in the master. Like
Yes.
sometimes events don't.
Only games get added as games, everything else
It's
can
really
be events.
weird how it goes. Just make sure you add it as a game so I see it. And then you don't have to respond to my email, but just check it, because there's so many different things. It's all done by hand, and you're coming from scheduling. There could be AM, PM. You had a ton of those last year. You had AM, PM where like the game doesn't sound like if it was 1:35 AM, okay, everybody knows. But if it's a
8:15.
Bantam that's 7:15, it could be PM or AM.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. So Darcy too, everything's by hand at PAHL, so she could transfer. Like,
So when you see Jack's weekly email come through, just
Don't ignore
check. Yes,
Just-
do not ignore it. Number one,
just check and let me
check-
know right away.
check to make sure it lines up. Like I would do, look at my rosters
so
for
many
my
little
TeamSnap
mistakes.
and make sure you had everything the same that I had.
Yeah, there's so many little
Even the
mistakes.
rink, all the way from the rink.
ranks, the rank
Yeah,
number,
your
it could be-
curfew, all that stuff.
Curfew, I could have like, may just need 90-minute slots. So in moving things around, I might mistakenly give a midget a 70-minute slot. So you'll see that, and I'll be like, oh, everything matches up, it looks like good on times. And then you'll look at my chart and be like, wait a minute, we're a midget team, you only have a 70-minute slot, And I'm like, oh no, it could be. So we could fix stuff like that. There's, I think once it was Christie's team, like 3 years ago, moving things around scheduling, sometimes things you can double book, it just happens.
Yeah.
So I can send that email out on Tuesday, and you can say, hey, we play at 1:30 versus the Renegades. And then I'm looking, it's like, well, you're playing 1:30, but so are you. I'm like, oh, I double book. So what it will be is, who's traveling the farthest? Like if you're playing the Renegades and you're playing Altoona, it's like, well, we're gonna let them play Altoona, we'll reschedule a Renegade game. Hopefully for that day or within a week or so, we'll fix it. There's never been, since I've never had 4 teams show up for the same game. That would be a nightmare.
You just jinxed yourself.
I had Christie's, her coach, I called her on a Saturday night, like 3 years ago. You're not playing tomorrow. I'm like, I'm sorry, like I had to cancel the game because I just found it like so late because
it happens.
she didn't see it, I didn't see it, and it was like so there are extreme circumstances. It's all
But
done
they're
by
few and
hand.
far between.
No, I'm a horrible.
Yes, they are. Oh, please.
I'm
Stop.
actually. So another thing, game responsibilities. If you have a 7 a.m. game, squirt managers, PB, even if it happens maybe once a year, twice a year, the refs don't show up. Like, especially if you have an early game, be vigilant while you're talking to the parents. Just be coordinated. The refs show up at AMT here, because if I get a message 15 minutes for a game, I could maybe get a ref or EMT here. But if I get a message, hey, they're on the ice, where's the EMT? It's like, it's over, then the game's gonna cancel. Like if there's not a parent, it depends on the level too for referees. Referees are human and they're usually between their 20s and 40s, and they were out partying or something, even though they knew they had a
7
game.
a.m. the rough
Schneider
starts.
slept in on me once or twice, but it's like, where's the ref? Well, if it's a PB game, you can play with 1, but if it's a checking, you have to have 2. I mean, it will go as extreme as if you let me know early enough. I can say, well, wait, there's a game over Olympic that's a PB, you're a Bantam. Like, I'll call over, pull the ref from this rink and have him come over so this game could be played. And then there's always ways, but the sooner I know, the better. All you guys will have my number. If you're not already, you'll have it.
If you don't see them, go knock on the ref door.
Yeah, go knock on the ref
they have a
door.
ref
I mean,
locker room. Just knock
even
on.
like if
Say,
you're-
just checking that you're here. It's
You
early.
guys, most of you will be there when another game's going on prior. So if you're just milling around and you see the refs walk out, if you happen to be there, hey, you guys doing the next game? If they're like, oh yeah, then just, you're done. EMT usually is there for 8 hours.
It's usually those morning ones.
Yeah, the
It
morning
really
ones
is,
are the
yeah.
ones that were, and those are the ones hard to get people there. But we had one last year where a ref left, and he was supposed to stay, but he left and didn't know. They called me, I had to call, and he actually came back when they got the game in, but it was like,
It's a hassle.
the sooner I know, the better.
Yeah.
And I'll have my ringer on all the time, whether it's 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. So yeah, that's a big thing for games.
Yes.
About the refs, the EMTs, and
So the EMTs can sign your game sheet before the game. It's basically that they were present. That's all that we need for them. The coaches should technically initial the curfew.
I think so now.
Technically.
Yeah.
So the curfew is the time that your game needs to be over by. Usually you don't hit the curfew. However, with these new rules, we shall see what happens. So the coaches are supposed to initial that curfew before the game.
So both home and away?
Yes. Afterwards, refs usually come off the ice, get them as they're coming off, because sometimes they forget and they just go, straight into the locker room or whatever, start getting changed. So flag them down to get them to review goals, penalties, and then sign off. And also the coaches. Sometimes the coaches are just going off with their team, and you have to kind of go, knock on the locker room and say, can you
Write down their
sign?
names so that you can type them in, because signatures are hard to read later.
Good
Yes.
point.
Yes.
I often will just flip the score sheet over and write their name and names.
Who's the ref, you mean?
Referees, even the EMT, because there's no drop down list, because you type in their name for sports engine.
Okay, so there's that. You have to input the results into Sports Engine by the deadline, which is usually the Monday after the weekend's games. And I will go over that as well. Down here I have, for the Foxes, they ask that you record any hat tricks, playmakers, or shutouts. So obviously shutouts are only going to be for goalies. Hat tricks, 3 goals in a game, playmakers, 3 assists in a game. So you'll go through your list of your home Foxes. If you're at home, which these are going to be the only score sheet you're responsible for, they are always on the left. Always, 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 always on the left for home game. Home team, away team. I had someone fill in last year, last minute, doing a score sheet, and he flipped them, and Darcy wasn't happy. So, yes, Foxes for home are always going to be on the left. So just look through and see if you see that same number, for either goals or assists, and you will go to that link and submit their name and the date of the game and who you played. And then any tournament wins too, with a picture, because they like to use that for the newsletter. So you can click on those to get right to those links. All right, filling out the score sheet. So these links there's an example score sheet and then the instructions for how to do it. Like I said, I also made a video last year that's a video tutorial how to do it that I will upload onto TeamSnap. It's in the media section, so you have to go into TeamSnap through the website to find it. You click on media and then videos, and then they'll be under there. The score sheet one and both the clock videos will be under there. Yes, make sure all writing is legible. You can either keep scratch paper to track shots or use a shot tracker app. There's one called Shots Keeper that I use, so anytime I see a shot, I just go pop, 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 pop. Yeah, it's nice. But
Shots
some
are-
people like to be one to write down. So
Yeah, shots are important, especially scrimmage games and stuff. When you come to placements, it's a difference. It's a slight different maker when you're looking at sport teams, especially, or some PV. When you're trying to find out a team in placement, you're like, oh, they lost, 6-1. You're like, well, the team only had 7 shots and scored 6 goals, or they lost 6-1, but the team had 55 shots. It's a big difference. Oh, they have a great goalie, and that will carry them as the kids get better. Or just try to keep accurate. If you can't do it while you're, like Alicia said, if the mom or dad in the penalty box, just say, hey, can you keep shots, and just give them a piece of paper.
And a lot of times, if
Take it.
you're doing the score sheet, you have someone else doing the clock. And like a lot of times it'd be me and my husband, and I'm like, like watching the game, and then I get distracted. He goes shot. I'm like, thank you. Like you miss one here and there. You know what I mean? So you kind of like help each other out.
Even in there, like, yeah, he's not. You're really
Yeah, I do that. Was that a shot?
In replay.
If it's
Yeah, right.
It's just,
So
it is
We'll give
important.
It is
to them
important.
now, the next one's not.
it evens out, right?
Now a shot actually has to hit the goalie, right?
No,
No?
it's any goal that would go in if the goalie wasn't there.
So.
So
Opposed to
if
my
it hits a
shot.
crossbar,
Right.
it's not a shot.
It could hit the goalie, but the goalie may not be in front of the net.
Right.
If it would.
You're a
go
judge
in, then
really
it's
on
good.
it. Like if it's an icing and it's like going, if it's an icing and it would barely go, you can say
Well,
it's a
you have
shot,
the
you can say
instant, like I
no.
feel like with squirt goalies especially, like you have, the puck's coming towards them, but it veers off and they go like this, so they block the shot, but they didn't need to
They
because the
might
puck
have
was gonna
played the
keep on
puck, but it
going.
wasn't a shot.
It's not a shot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's only shot if it would have gone in.
You have that goalie mom or dad. How many shots did you have for that? How many
Yeah,
shots?
put them in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to know, like, how many saves did you get?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the goalie parents' job.
These, the score sheet I feel like the video, I made a video because I was like, this is confusing if you don't know what you're doing. But once you watch it and you do it a couple times, it's, once again, just like the clock, it's not bad. It really isn't. The hardest ones are the older teams because of all the penalties, really. Squirts, even the girls' teams are easy because you don't get many penalties there. Squirts and peewees are not bad at all. Okay. So, here we go. What I do, and I started this last year, is a lot of people will take a picture of this. But when you email it to the statistician, they want a scan. A scan is not the same as a photo. So if you have an iPhone, I don't know if Android can do this, your Notes app has a scannability in it. So you take the picture, but it turns it into a scan. So that's an easy way to do it. So you can use that Notes app to do that. I'm assuming Android does something similar, but if not, there's plenty of scan apps out there.
My Tiny Scanner or something like that. There's an app.
Yeah, there's plenty of apps that you can, do it. So, because the statistician wants a black and white copy. So that is why I'm saying to just scan it, and that way you have it. So, white copy. So after everyone signed it, after you've taken your picture, if the refs, like I said, want to, say it was a game that had a ton of penalties or there's questionable actions that went on. Sometimes the ref will want a picture of it if everyone's done their part. Check it over one last time before you start ripping these apart because you can't make any changes once it's been divided. You take your picture, the top white copy goes in the Fox box at the front desk before you leave, and then you have your scanned version to do the sports engine input once you get home.
Alicia, do we get pushed that app for Sports Engine or for Sports Engine?
So you're going to be doing it through Sports Engine on the computer.
Okay.
Same company, same thing as the app because we use the app for school hockey, but you do it all on the computer.
We'll get a login
Yes.
and everything for
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
We don't have to-
You'll get, you will get all that stuff, yeah. So copies go to one to the home team, one to the away team. So you'll have your picture, you get the copy, but just keep it in your binder. You give the other one to the away team. And like I said, you have that last one that's barely legible. It usually goes in the garbage, so do it with it what you want. You can also, I've done this too last year, email a copy to scan to the head coach. A lot of coaches, if they do like tracking, or I know like Christy, she had her husband doing all her stats for her in TeamSnap. That way they have, and they want to know, what their goalies' percentages are, all that kind of stuff. So I always email them a copy of the scan as well. So they have copies of all the games. And the scan to the statistician, these are the statistician's names and email addresses, depending on what level your team is. they need to be to them by 6 p.m. the Monday after the game. So if you have 2 games that weekend, you need to get 2 home games that weekend. You need to get both of those in by Monday at 6. Okay, game scoring. This is in Sports Engine. You click this link, it has the entire tutorial on how to score, how to add in your info in Sports Engine. It does not tell you, which I learned on my own after doing it for a while. It took forever. You can enter things in batches. You can enter all your goals at once. You can enter all your penalties at once. Sports Engine then puts them in chronological order. So you do not have to go through your score sheet and say that we scored a goal here and then they scored a goal. I found out that a lot of managers were doing that and it was very time consuming, but it will put them in chronological order for you. So you can put all your Fox's goals, all your opponent goals, all your penalties, and when you look on the left side, it'll put everything in order for you. So that makes it so much easier and so much faster, so much less time consuming. That also has to be done by Monday evening following the weekend's games. Now, with the statistician email, once you scan this, you can send this to them right after the game. Like if you take that picture and it's ready to go and there were no like questionable anything, going on, you can email that to them, boom, that part's done. You don't have to, wait to do it when you do this part. Because obviously this will be take more time than just emailing the statistician. All right, disciplinary issues. So you may have game suspensions if there are game misconduct penalties, match penalties, 4 penalties by an individual player, or 12 penalties in a game. So if there's 12 penalties in a game, the coach gets a game suspension. You have to let the PAHL discipline director know, and then the Fox's ACE coordinator know. So that is their contact info.
On the website too.
Yes. Yes, it is on the website. There was something I was looking for. I lost my train of thought. So the next game, you need to note, whether it be a home or away, you need to have it noted on the top of the game of the score sheet with the penalty being served. So, number 10, John Smith is serving game suspension 3 of 5. So you have to have that noted on that, or else it doesn't count. Even if they weren't there, if it's not noted, it doesn't count. Just right at the very top where there's not a ton of room, but you can just put, a big star and put it right across the top there. That is good enough as long as it is listed.
And if you don't know that they were suspended and they played, then the coach gets suspended. So that's probably why it's a good idea to send the coach like you were saying, because it's their responsibility not to play into player.
Usually you'll know because
Well, it's happened that we didn't know that it was 2 games, right? And then so we played one, and then we had another one that weekend, and we didn't know. Had it been a whole week, you know what I mean?
yes.
So.
All right. Banquet. So the past 2 years we haven't had a banquet just because of the whole COVID stuff started, 2 seasons ago, basically the end of that season. So we didn't have one, and then we didn't have one this past year. Typically, we do have one at the end of the year, which is fun, especially for the younger kids. So definitely invite parents to help with this. Typically, every team has a table to decorate in a side room. So it's usually at the, is it a Sheraton out there in South Point?
Whatever it is.
It's usually at that hotel. Anyways, big ballroom, and then off to the side is a separate room where each team can kind of do a table. So you can have, there's so many different ideas, but just kind of showcasing your team. Maybe tournament wins. You can have a bunch of different themes. So a lot of times you'll put the gifts on there for the players and coaches, which is optional, but use it to like decorate the table. Each team is responsible for making a theme basket to raffle off. Now, if you have money left in your slush, you can use that. If not, it's about $10 per player, between $170, $200 value. So you submit a theme. So it could be anything. It could be backyard barbecue theme, and you supply all the supplies, for like a small group. It could be any theme you want. We just need to know ahead of time so there's not duplicates. And then it's like a Chinese auction kind of you buy so many tickets and you can put it into whatever basket you like. So basically the money you make off that helps pay for the banquet. That's the reason for that. And then each team is asked to bring 3 dozen cookies to share with the organization. So that is, but yes, you can have, if there's a parent who wants to take on that duty and just kind of consult with you, that's awesome. If you like doing that stuff and you want to do it, that's awesome too. So, or if you have several people that want to do it together, because it's fun, but it's time consuming while you're doing all the other things.
I have a question. It's a little bit off topic to that, but your Chinese raffle kind of threw it up. Are we allowed to do individual fundraising events for our team or no?
So if you want to do an individual fundraiser, they need to be approved by the board first.
Okay.
I
don't think I'm gonna do it. I
Yeah.
just thought, why not ask?
If you do, it has to be kind of like a proposal submitted to the board on what you want to do. We actually, let's see. Okay, I'll bring that up later. With the more about the fundraising stuff at the end. Okay, end of year. Basically, like I said, you keep all those score sheets in your binder for your records. You close out the team fund. So you can. What I've done is kind of done a sheet in an email to families on how the money was spent. It doesn't have to be down to every penny. You can kind of ballpark it just so they know that their money is going towards their children. You know what I mean? And the fun they had that season. And then any extra money that's left over, you return to the appropriate family. So like I said, the reason why it says that is because if there's certain kids who couldn't make a tournament, they're probably going to get a little bit more back. Most families, for the most part, are they're fine with, in my opinion, it's when I give the slush, it's gone out of my head. It's just part of this, I don't need $20 back, but so you can give that money back as applicable. Okay, FAQs, we are almost done. Foxbox, if you don't know, it is a metal bin, usually if you're coming to the front desk on the left side. Sometimes they have it behind the desk. I don't know why. I don't know. Because you don't ever want to put cash or any, checks are one thing, but you don't ever want to put cash in the Foxbox. If it's not out, just ask whoever's working the front desk. Can you throw this in the Foxbox for me? And they have it under the desk or on that little shelf. USA hockey rosters, like I said, they come out in early September, but could be delayed if all the clearances for the managers and the coaches aren't completed. I will give you your score sheets when they arrive. They were just ordered today. And we'll put them in envelopes at the Foxbox. But I'll email you guys once they're in and let you know. So, your next practice, just come in and grab them. And clearances, this kind of just sums up all the, the clearances that you need that we talked about. So for managers, it's going to be the USA Hockey, the NCSI Child Abuse, Safe Sport, PA Child Abuse, PA Criminal Background, and FBI Check. Coaches need those extra certifications for coaching. So here.
Why do managers need that when they're really not?
Because a lot of times managers are in the locker, going in and out of the locker rooms and kind of being the ones to corral the kids and get things in order. So since they're spending so much time with the kids, that's why they need it. Here's the board right now. President is open. So anyone? We're still looking for a new president. David is not on the board yet, but he just was nominated to head the fundraising committee. So you were asking about fundraising. He has a plan to do possibly a fundraiser a month.
He said he did it last year during COVID. He said
if he did it during COVID, I feel like then
he was a
anytime.
fundraiser up at North Hills Vipers
Yes.
for 4 years.
Yes.
He said last year he did a fundraiser per month in COVID, and a lot of parents paid off their whole fees that way.
Yeah.
So he seems to be
and it's all
really good
fundraisers I feel like that families are interested in. It's not, can I sell another candle?
Yeah, I think he's going to be good.
Yeah. So I did put him on there. Even though he's not technically a board member. That's my disclaimer from Glenn.
Not yet.
All right, that is.
Some voting right now.
Right. I didn't vote yet. That is everything that I have. Questions? anything that I didn't cover or about anything?
So I have an assistant coach that said that they coached 2 years ago, but that they haven't. So there's something with like reinitializing his status as a level 2, level 3 kind of thing. And he's not sure who to talk to.
Well, Carmen should know. She should have sent him a stat zone email about if he is.
Yeah, I think he emailed Carmen.
Okay.
She knows all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have to level up. Level 3, you can like renew or something like up to 3 times, but then level 4, you're good forever, so it depends
Yeah, I
on
think
where.
he already
I
had
think they're
2.
doing away with that.
So they just has to go to level.
Yeah,
done
because he
forever.
didn't do it
Years
for
now.
2 years.
Yeah, they put a limit on it, yeah.
And then 3 years.
They need to make more money.
No, oh, it's because it expires.
Because it expires or something. I think that's where he.
Level 2 will expire, and then, yeah, that.
So he made us have to do 2
You might
again.
have to do 2 again, or 3. She'll know.
Yeah,
he
that's
told her.
Carmen's domain for
Yeah.
sure. Anything else? If you have questions mid-season, shoot me a text. You know, you can send me a chat through the TeamSnap app. Shoot me an email, whatever. If I don't know the answer, I will find it out.
I kind of have a question, but I don't know if you're going to answer it. What if you don't have a person in the penalty box? Can you start the game without a penalty box attendant? Because would they rather nobody or a person
No, I
who
think
doesn't
they
have
would. I think they
clearances?
would.
Like, what are they gonna do?
You couldn't let somebody, I think it would be able to start without.
What's going to happen?
I think that
What's
would
going to happen is that if one of the scorekeeper or the time clock people are
Close.
certified,
Right.
the other person will run both, and then you'll be doing the penalty. I mean, it's a minute or a minute and a half. It's not
I mean,
too
in
long.
some ranks, it's on the other side.
It is.
Yes.
It's not, so I'm just
Right.
curious if they're going to allow it to stay out.
Maybe a coach then is on the other side next to like a team, maybe a coach could run over it.
Yeah.
a minute and a half, I
Yeah,
don't
if you
know.
don't have someone, then.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to say the coaches.
I'm just
have to go
wondering
over
what the
there, yeah.
refs are gonna do, and you know, sometimes they're 16.
Remember
They're
on
not.
40, and they don't
yeah,
know.
on the
They're not
ice, the
gonna pay
refs are the boss of all the games, so they're the ones, we've had discussions on that before. Like,
Yeah.
the refs are in charge once the games are going.
We only have to take care of our penalty box, because I mean, I've been
Yes.
many times when the
Right, that's
opposing
true.
team
What
does
about
not
the
put
opposing
some,
team?
they don't put some.
Right, and that's the ref's job to say something. That's not on us, so.
But I was wondering if it's gonna delay our game, is the ref gonna say? Because I mean, my children ref, so I wanna know, are they told to not start a game? I can imagine.
I don't know, my son's a ref as well.
Like,
numerous
it's more,
times.
I mean, it's a new rule and they haven't leveled up again yet, but I just.
Right. That's a good question. If you notice that, you could say to their coach, hey, can you send one of yours over here just so we can get the game started on time? I mean, it's not your
Or
responsibility,
ask the
but
refs will know, I mean, we'll find out, somebody will find out.
yeah, with these new changes, it's kind of like there's a lot of gray area as far as finding out the little details right now. So,
So I do have a question on this
Yeah.
as well. Do we have to notify Carmen or somebody of the parents that are?
yes. So that they already have their, yes.
If they already have clearances.
And
we
they
know
wanna
their
volunteer?
parents, If we say, well, my husband's one, so I can be like,
That's what my husband said. He's like, I guess I gotta give him clearances. I'm like, yes, you do, honey.
yeah, so like I know he already has them, so like,
Yeah.
be in the box. We just give it all to Carmen.
So you can just tell Carmen, my husband has his clearances, here's his contact info. So it's basically his name and email, and she'll send a stat zone email to him that says everything he needs. And then he has it already, so he can upload it.
Okay.
Yeah, so just send her an email with his name and email, really, basically.
People who live out of state have to do the Pennsylvania one if they live in West Virginia.
Carmen knows that's,
That's a
I
good
don't think
question.
you do, I don't think you do, it's really weird. There's some kind of weird thing with that, I don't know the answer.
That's a good question, because we have, a couple players that are,
Does she tell us that when people leaving and all?
Yeah, she knows, she has a giant spreadsheet, she knows everybody's stuff. And
you mean like as far as till you get to roster?
Yeah, she'll
So
get
like
on
if the locker room monitor or whatever, they're not gonna be on the roster.
No, they won't be on the roster.
No, they
So
won't.
just knowing that.
It's just manager, coaches.
Just knowing that they're cleaning it.
You have to email her to ask her, yeah.
I have another question.
Yes.
So I have never managed boxes, but I've been doing in-house through here for
Yeah.
5 years. But my youngest is 5 and travels everywhere with me. I don't have many coaches on my roster, so I'm feeling I'm gonna be doing the Can I just, like in-house, can I just bring her with me with boxes? Like, what am I?
I'm not sure, I would say probably like standing right outside the penalty
Maybe
box.
keep her in the scoreboard area,
Yeah, like right off to that, like.
cause I mean, I have to bring her.
Right, right.
What am I gonna do with my daughter?
Yeah,
I know with this new penalty box thing, I didn't
I
think
don't
of
know how
that.
strict they're gonna be about it.
Well,
She
yeah,
plays
well,
hockey,
there's,
I can put her hockey helmet on her.
Before you go, who needs a stop patch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Okay,
I'll say one more thing too. So if you have any ice questions, about refs or EMTs or ice or practice or games, you can email, text me, call me, even right now, afterwards or during. Michelle, no, like, she's been a manager for years, me and her talking with them sometimes for hours about everything. Like, just be careful if you ask questions, because I'll answer them very lonely and we'll go on and we'll figure it all out. It's all fun, but everything that happens on the ice, from practice to the games to even if I put a stick time or on the whiteboard, is me. So there's Reed at the front desk knows me because I'll call her on Friday night at 10:30 and like, let's go over everything, make sure it's perfect. So yeah, I try to double, triple, quadruple check everything. But especially coming out of COVID last year, and I put in my email, like, communication's huge. Like, if you send me something like, hey, I have a scrimmage game on the 3rd and I need refs or EMT, if you don't hear back from me, I have 27 teams and I'm, like all of us, we have jobs and family and everything. My kid plays hockey and it's just crazy. So just communicate and don't feel bad about shooting me a text and say, hey, you didn't, let me know or you don't update me. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll get back to you. It's just communication with me is just huge, and just get the ice and get everybody there on time, and especially for the games, that's the huge thing. We want to make sure all the games are done and ready to go before Friday night, in case there's a problem, because there's sometimes extra ice. Oh, you'll see extra ice emails, especially now in August and September. There'll be a lot of extra ice. The ice will get really tight after we schedule, and then you'll see emails come out on the Tuesday. I'll be like, or Monday night or Tuesday, here's the games this weekend, and the extra ice slots are highlighted in purple. If you're not having a game, you want to practice. There also, during the year, will be a Sunday night stadium slot from 8:45 to 10:05. Sometimes it turns into a stick time, but you'll see that. I'll email that out too. Does anybody want this practice? So usually the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more you see there's practice, the more you ask, the more your kids will be on the ice. But there's last year 25 teams. There was probably 15 teams that never really asked for extra ice. There was teams that got extra ice every weekend when it was so.
So manager bags. So I'll do this instead. I will send out like in the manager chat, who needs stop patch, who needs manager bag. Just respond if you do, because that's way easier than me writing down everyone's names. Is that okay? Okay.
Jack, do you schedule the refs or does Jeff?
No, I give Jeff the games and he schedules the reps. Yeah, so.
So that if you want scheduled, you go through Jeff, right? As a rep.
Yes, you contact him. If you, like Alicia's son, like she said, hey, my son, so I give Jeff names also, people who want to rep. Because he's not looking for young, he's looking for that sweet spot of like a 25 to 30-year-old. No cherries or leaves on all the time, but it's, he wants to get that, but he's the one that schedules the reps.
He's in need of reps for like the older kid game, the midget game.
Yeah,
Well, I have an 18-year-old that's graduating high school.
Yeah, so that's something that he would like.
Well, just experience, that, like they've been in it for a while.
But if you have a son that 18 wants to rep, the only way.
He's been, but
Okay.
Jeff thought that I have a 17-year-old handmade joke, and he thought they were the same person for a while.
Well, yeah, if you're roughing the Foxes, you have to be through Jeff.
Right.
And yeah, he does it all. Yeah, we had a big problem with that years ago with going away from Jeff. It wasn't fun.
All right, any questions after the fact, just shoot me an email or text, whatever. I can help with whatever.